Hello, and welcome to the Full Send Half Mast podcast, episode number 21. I'm here with Tom. How are you doing today, Tom?
I'm doing all right. How are you doing?
I am doing fantastic. Got a little bit of audio issues here for 1 second. That's a quick fix. We'll get right with you here. Um, Alrighty. I think I got it fixed. All right. Well, we're here to talk about the races this weekend. We had IndyCar and Indy NXT over at Road America, which is one of my personal favorite tracks for road course racing. Really awesome track there. And then we had the Canadian Grand Prix at Circuit Villeneuve for Formula One. And then also we had the ARCA Series at Berlin Speedway, a short track there. So that was a very interesting race. We'll talk about the news here first. We got a report that tomorrow Stewart Haas Racing is going to be making a new announcement on new driver for the 4 car next year. Most likely going to be Josh Berry. What are your thoughts on Josh Berry jumping over to Stewart Haas?
Well, first off, I was surprised, and then we good?
I think we're good.
Okay.
Yep, we are good.
All right, good.
Fixed
All right. So
it.
first off, I was surprised to even hear Josh Berry even having a chance over there. Second off, I'm a little confused. Why is this happening? I guess. I mean, he's got such a strong relationship with Dale and the program he's got running over there, and it really just surprises me that he's hopping manufacturers. Now, is that something to say where maybe SHR is going back to Chevrolet? I don't think so. I think that they have a pretty strong relationship with Ford. I just find it really weird. I don't know. I don't know why Josh would do that. In terms of the dumpster fire that we've seen out of Stewart Haas this year, I don't. Maybe he's getting paid a lot of money. I don't know. I'm just confused though. More than anything, I'm confused.
Yeah, I am confused as well. I think we talked about this on our prior podcast. My ideal situation was, why doesn't Hendrick Motorsports try to retain this guy? And I know they don't have any empty seats, but why don't they do a deal with Spire and maybe give them full Hendrick type equipment, keep Corey LaJoie, because obviously they like him. He did good in that car and they had a good relationship. And then bring Barry over to 77. Have a 6-car team essentially with a partner. But I guess maybe the grass is always greener on the other side. So we'll see how this progresses for Josh Berry. I don't think it's going to be well, but
I don't think so either. I think
it's not by a lack of talent. It's not by a lack of talent.
No,
that's not where we're coming
he's
from.
a pretty good driver. He's a pretty decent driver. I am so confused. I don't know why. I don't know why that is even crossing the minds of anybody, to be honest.
Yeah, it's a strange situation. So tune in, I guess, tomorrow. We'll find out officially, but I mean, it's pretty much official. Everybody is talking about it. It's buzzing. And I think we've even talked about on the podcast a few weeks back that this was a possibility of happening. So it's coming to fruition now. Also, out of the SHR camp, they got a new crew chief for the number 14 car. They got Richard Boswell moving into a crew chief position there, which, as we've seen and noted this year, Briscoe is having just an awful career year this year, like just an absolute dumpster fire. Stewart Haas is a dumpster fire. They got hit with that penalty that basically eliminated any chance and possibility of them making the playoffs. Their crew chief's out for 6 weeks. They got the L3 penalty, so now they just decided, we're going to try something different. Let's go with a new crew chief for Briscoe and see if we could kind of right this ship. What is it? Kind of like a tanking season here for Stewart Haas? Was that what you would kind of think?
I don't even know, man, because I mean, Harvick's running pretty decent. I mean, maybe they're giving all the good equipment to him and whatever in his farewell season, but I think they would at least share some things, given how bad the other teams are doing right now.
Yeah, it's
I don't know.
Bad look.
I don't know. It's just so strange, man. It's just so strange.
Yeah. I mean, we could see this kind of coming for the last year, though. Even last year, they weren't super good. I mean, Harvick did get those back-to-back wins, but he had a terrible 2021. Briscoe turned up a little bit there late in the season. I think he made the round of 8 even. So, and then it just everything's kind of going downhill. And I think their driver lineup's good. I mean, I'm not totally thinking Briscoe's bad or anything. Like, I think I could see the potential there. I've seen what he can do in the past. I know Ryan Preece is a generational talent in general. He's just anything he jumps in, he can win in. It just the driver lineup's not the problem. I think it's got to be equipment. I mean, we've talked about it time and time again with Ford. I mean, it's just a reoccurring fact here with Ford this year. Yeah. So we'll see. We'll see what if the horizons are brighter there in that 14 camp at SHR. And then also one more tidbit of news, a HBSE, a management company, a sports management company. They own the 76ers. They own the New Jersey Devils. They also bought a minority stake into JGR today, and that was announced. And so now JGR is going to basically, or Joe Gibbs is basically waiting on NBA and NHL like approval so that he can have part ownership into those teams as well, is what I was reading. So interesting that he would decide to sell some stakes and maybe invest into other things. I don't know, trying to grow his brand, make some more money. I don't know. Very interesting there. We'll have to see where that goes. And then also, Tom, you had some news?
Yeah, so the W Series folded. It's under administration right now, and so if anybody doesn't know anything about the W Series, this was an opportunity for women to get into Formula racing and kind of build skills around a woman platform. And what we saw was Jamie Chadwick just absolutely, I mean, just come into that series, won like the first 3 championships or something like that. And then this year she jumped over to Indy Lights or Indy NXT. I don't know where she's at in points.
She's not doing well. I mean, every race she has some type of catastrophe happening.
I mean, we haven't talked about her a lot, but she does have a lot of backing in the Indy NXT series right now because of her opportunity in the W Series. But now the W Series is pretty much no more. It's not going to continue. And so I felt like that was a big piece of news to talk about because of Jamie Chadwick and the opportunities it gave her to move over to North American Open Wheel Series. But, you know, Jamie Chadwick was really the only one to ever benefit from that W Series. But now, unfortunately, it's folded.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of equate the W Series to the WNBA. I mean, who watches it? You're watching half as good racing. It's racing. It's just I'd rather go watch the 4 cylinders at my local short track.
I did watch one race. I did, and that was last year when Jamie was still on her tear. And I mean, it was like, I don't know if you guys watched the Nexus race that we broadcasted last night. But every race was like, she was like Chad Gwynnigsman, just 2 to 40 seconds in front of the field every race. Like, you could tell she was just miles ahead of every other driver there in the W Series. So that's the one experience I had. I don't even remember the track. I don't even remember the time of year, but she put on a whale of a show there.
All right. Well, that will cover news. I do want to mention another thing real quick. I don't know if you guys have stayed tuned to the channel lately, but last Saturday, our boy here, Tom, and Brad Haldane, a driver in the NSR League, a good iRacing buddy of Tom here, went and ran the 6 hours of the Glen. Not only ran the race, you guys didn't even qualify, right? And then you go out and win the 6 hours at the Glen. What an incredible race. And if you guys watch to the end, with about 5 minutes to go, Tom's Oculus actually died and went black on him, and it almost looked like it was all for naught. So, I mean, you want to talk about your experience there, man? That's awesome. Congratulations, dude.
Yeah, we went into this weekend, or last weekend, and we were just like, hey, this is the first time Brad and I got back together for a race, and it's been about 2 years, so the only thing we wanted to do was finish the race. And so we started racing. You know, Brad slowly moved up. I think we started like 17th or something like that with the LMDH cars, and just slowly moved our way up. Brad did a really good job keeping the car clean, and By the time I got into the seat, he moved himself all the way up to P4. And then from there, we had a big gap between third, second, and first. I think it was like 2 laps between fourth and first. First had us lapped that many times. Now, third and second, they were like 40 seconds ahead of us or 50 seconds or something like that. So I got a good feel for the car when I jumped in. And then I had the opportunity to push a little bit and keep going and keep going. And then there at the end, second and third had some real issues on track and got some damage, got themselves out of the race pretty much. And then first place looks like, they were doing a driver change to try and combat the speed that I was having in the car. The car literally just turned up. I mean, I felt like I was just on rails there at the end. And then they were putting in one of their faster drivers. I felt like maybe they were pressured. And honestly, that was the best thing I saw that whole race, because I could see the panic in that team. And when you see the panic and when you see them doing a driver change to their faster driver, it's a recipe for disaster. So at that point, I'd kind of just like backed off a little bit, and I knew something bad was going to happen, and it only took 2 laps. And by that 2 laps, we had already caught the leader, and then they had some more troubles, and we passed them while they were on pit road getting some repairs. And from there on, we just sailed. I think we finished first, but second place was 3 laps behind. And really, if you go and look at the video, when my Oculus crashed, it only crashed for like 2 seconds, but we got rear-ended by a GT3 and had another LMDH behind us. We got so lucky there, so lucky. But yeah, I mean, it was a great race. Brad ran 3 hours, and then I ran 3 hours, and man, when I got out of that seat, I felt like an old man, and I was just sweating. I was drenched. It was stress sweats for real. For real. Over a video game. It was crazy.
Well, that's awesome. I was super happy to see that. That was cool. You guys did an awesome job.
Thanks.
Yeah, and maybe stay tuned to the channel. Maybe we'll be doing some more of that here coming up soon. It'll be fun. Also, last bit of news. It has come. Finally. We know that this weekend is the Nexus 499, so I want to showcase the trophy that is going to be awarded to the winner of the race this weekend. Here it is. Here's the front of it. The Nexus 499 champion.
Look and at then that bad thing right there.
On this side, there's your 2022 winner. And it's like a gold chalice. I mean, look at the bragging rights these guys are going to have. So make sure you stay tuned this Saturday for the Nexus 499. We'll be calling it from the booth. We're going to have a big pre-race show. We're going to have a awesome race going on and the bragging rights. I mean, you get this amazing trophy here. Super excited for it. So any NSR guys in here, watching the podcast tonight, just type in the chat, champ. Who's going to be the champ of the 499, baby? Let's go. All right. So now we're going to get straight into the races this weekend. First off, we had the ARCA race on Saturday at Berlin in Michigan. And, we saw Jesse Love qualify in pole, and he pretty much dominated this whole race until we get about 2 laps to go. He had some type of issue, and William Swalich was able to get by him there 2 laps to go and steal the win from him. Just a big moment. I think Jesse Love was going for 4 in a row in the ARCA series, or maybe 5 in a row.
Something ridiculous.
Yeah,
something
he's
absolutely
on a tear.
Ridiculous.
Yeah, absolute tear. Dominates this race and loses it by heartbreak. Unfortunate for him, but congratulations to Swalich. I mean, kind of solidifying himself as a top driver, especially in the equipment he's in, right? He's a JGR ARCA equipment. You should be winning in that equipment. So,
yeah.
And then also I want to shout out Tony Breidinger. She got a P5 in this race in a Venerini car. It was a loaded field. There's probably like 20 something cars in the race. So she did amazing. She was only finished 1 lap down. There was only 2 lead lap cars at the end of the race. So, and most of them were multiple laps down, and she was only 1 lap down at the end of that race. So that was pretty good for her, finishing 5th. And just nobody had the pace of Swalich or Love. They were just in a zip code of their own. It was tough to even come close and competitive to those guys. So Again, congratulations to Swallich and Tony Bridger, which you'll see. We'll talk about her at the end in our infamous poll segments. Also, Sunday before the IndyCar race, we had and also before the F1 race, we had the Indy NXT at Road America, the Firestone Grand Prix at Road America. We saw Kiffin Simpson qualify on pole, and that didn't last long because I think it was coming off of turn 1. He hit a curb and went airborne and fell back to like 9th place. I mean, just overdrove turn 1 just terribly. I mean, it was just a poor look for him. And then you saw Reese Gold end up taking the lead here. Kind of what he did there, race 1 at Detroit. The leaders messed up in turn 1. He takes the lead and goes on to lead most of the race. But unfortunately, I guess it played out the same way. You saw Nolan Siegel, which was my pick, ends up taking the lead there, lap 8, and controlling the race. And then we saw his points rival, his teammate, Tom's pick, Rasmussen, right? He ends up wrecking on lap 10, DNFing, finishing dead last. So that really killed his points day. Yeah. Wasn't running good prior to that anyway, but that just pretty much was the nail in the coffin. And Nolan Siegel was able to move on to win, didn't have any last lap drama or troubles, and was able to hang on, get his second win of the season, and now pretty much solidifying him as a championship favorite, and then at Indy NXT, which is pretty exciting for him. Next, we're going to
points leader.
Yeah, exactly. Points leader, right? Yeah, championship favorite, points leader, everything, all wrapped into one. Yeah, exceptional season. I guess before we talk about Formula One, IndyCar, I want to talk about an incident in practice here between Scott Dixon and Will Power. I don't know. This was a crazy incident, not really getting a lot of coverage, I don't think. I mean, I haven't seen a whole lot about it, but I think it's just absolutely hilarious. So we're going to play the footage here so you guys get a little bit of perspective, and then we'll talk about it.
Wow, look at this. Will Power and Scott Dixon are off, and Power is incensed.
This is not something that you see often here in practice. Man, I have never seen Will Power that fired up. I'm trying to see where this is. Somewhere in the last sector of the racetrack. Coming out of Canada Corner, it sounds like. Two good race cars destroyed in this incident, whatever it was. Heavy damage, it looks like, to both cars.
So now two championship contenders on the same team will be thrashing to prepare for qualifying. This significantly more extensive than Alex Palou's crash. We haven't gotten a good look at Will Power's car.
Dixon checking out the damage so he can report back to the crew. He'll get there before the car does. Let's see what happens. So here's Canada Corner. Will Power, Romain Grosjean, Scott Dixon moving slowly there. And oh, wow.
He let Grosjean go by and didn't know Power was coming.
He's just trying to, oh, wow. And straight into concrete as well. No tire barriers there, no safer barriers.
Oh, that's big damage for both cars.
Will has every right to be upset about that.
Alrighty, so before I get your perspective on this, I just want to say my favorite part of that whole thing was when Will Power kicks his tire. It's absolutely hilarious, dude. I mean, what are your thoughts on the incident, the altercation? Who's in the wrong, who's in the right, or is it just a racing deal? What are your opinions?
Extremely unfortunate. I just don't think that, I truly don't believe that Scott Dixon knew he was there. I mean, if Scott Dixon knew he was there, he wouldn't have done that. I mean, we're talking about Scott Dixon here. We're talking about an IndyCar legend of the likes like AJ Foyt or Mario Andretti, or, you know, even better, in my opinion. But I don't think that was done on purpose, and I fully understand the reaction by Will Power. I mean, wouldn't you be the same? I'd be the same. I'd be livid. But again, you also can't expect these drivers to have a replay sitting right for them right there as they're getting out of the car for them to watch. and see what's going on. But I don't. I don't think it's a racing deal at all. I think it's just a human error by Dixon, honestly.
Yeah, I think you summed it up perfectly. I was gonna say, basically, yeah, just a lack of self-awareness by Scott Dixon in that situation, and you don't blame Will Power for getting mad at a tire. I love it, and he also got mad at Dixon a little bit too. But yeah, I mean, I'd be pretty fired up too. I mean, especially in practice, it's
Yeah,
it's not a good time to have a destroyed race car.
and it was excuse me, it was right before qualifying. So then, not only did the drivers they're not going to expect what kind of car that they have in qualifying, but then now the teams have to rebuild the car. And I tell you, I just quick story here. I was in Detroit in 2018. Carlos Munoz was our driver, and coming into the if you guys remember, start finish line, then it was a slight right, then a hard left, but then there was a hill going over that left. Well, he took that corner way too hard, slapped the right side of the car on the outside wall, and then spun it all the way around and hit the left side of the car on the inside wall, and basically got all four corners. He hit the wall so hard it cracked the block. So then we had to do a motor change, a complete rehaul of all bodywork and everything, and we only had 2 hours to do it. And it was the most intense 2 hours of my entire life. Like, I was running around like crazy trying to get the car rebuilt, and I feel like I can sympathize a little bit with these guys who had to rebuild these cars. Well, maybe a little bit. I mean, we're talking about Chip Ganassi and Penske here. When I was racing for Foyt, that was a shit show, but I'm sure these guys are a little bit more organized too.
Right. All right. So now we'll talk about the actual race itself. We saw Colton Herta actually qualify on pole, had a great run in qualifying. We saw a caution on lap 1. We saw a Kirkwood spin there in turn 1. We also saw a caution on lap 12 with Grosjean, or actually we had the caution on lap 13 when Grosjean spun on lap 12. And we saw a Mast pit stop at that sequence of the race. And then we see a restart caution on lap 15 with Jack Harvey going off into the tire barrier. Basically, at this point, Herta's still leading. Another caution on lap 25 with Maluka stalling. And then we saw our first big strategy change. We saw Armstrong and Will Power. Armstrong was my dark horse, actually. So it was very interesting to see him running up front. And then he pulls a strategy call to stay out after that lap 25 caution, him and Will Power. And they were basically just banking on it to be continuing as a wreck fest as it had been. And it just didn't play out that way. It kind of went green the rest of the way there. And Plo ends up leaping Herta at one point. Herta leaps him back. And then we had the final lead change there with 7 laps to go. And Alex Plo was able to take the lead over Colton Herta. Me and Tom both picked Plo to win the race. And he did it. I mean, 7th career win, just extending that dominant points lead that he has over the rest of the field in the IndyCar series. And also Colton Herta just fading through the field. And I guess the only other thing to really summarize this race is Grosjean, right? I think this dude went off track about 3, 4, 5 times. I mean, he was having a rough go at Road America, man. It was bad. I'm surprised he didn't park the dang thing. I would have. If I would have went off that many times, it was a bad day. I would have been done.
Yeah. And it was crazy, too, because even during the practices, there was, cars flying everywhere. I mean, it wasn't just, Grosjean did have his fair share of off-tracks, but everybody, I mean, Graham Rahal absolutely piled it into the barriers on the last corner during qualifying, and Pelot did it in practice. Colton Herta had 4 spins in practice, but I do want to say one thing, 2 things. First off, I chose Alexander Rossi last week, but
oh, that's right, you did. I was the one that picked Pelot. That's right.
Yeah, you chose Pelot. I don't think Rossi has it anymore. I'm getting a little discouraged by him.
Yeah, I was wondering the same thing. Just doesn't have it.
Yeah, I don't know. He was so dominant when he was with Andretti, and then something happened. I don't know. But then, anyways, I think this is very deserving. Talking about how fast Colton Herta was, because it's been a long time since we've seen an actually competitive car out of that Andretti camp, other than Kyle Kirkwood winning at Long Beach. But still, I mean, it's about time we see that Colton Herta car back up front and leading these races. I mean, we all saw him as the next Scott Dixon, and he's been absent for the last year and a half. So it's good to see that car back up out front.
Yeah, exactly. That's another thing I was going to mention too, is he didn't get the result that he deserved, because he did fade there late in that race, but definitely deserved a top 2 finish at least, and just didn't get it, unfortunately.
I think
racing.
He had the fastest car. Honestly, he just didn't have the strategy.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, that's why I picked Palou. I mean, his engineers, race strategists, his driving ability to like manage the situation and just get the most out of it and still have something left over, like that's a potent combination in IndyCar right now. It's unstoppable what they are able to do. We are witnessing absolute dominance right now out of that 10 team. It's awesome to watch. Honestly, that's what I took the most out of this race, was just how dominant Palou was, and his strategy, the pace. It's like it's nothing can rattle this guy right now. Like, he is on another level. It's crazy.
Yeah. Yep.
All right. Well, we're gonna talk about the Formula One race next, and it's a lot of the same that we just kind of mentioned. It was we saw Verstappen on pole. Just me and Tom both picked him. I mean, everybody's picking Verstappen right now. I don't think anybody out of their mind would still probably pick Verstappen. He qualifies on pole. We saw a pretty good mix-up there at the beginning between Alonso and Hamilton. Then we saw Sargent, the first guy to retire there on lap 8. The Williams just had a terrible run. Then we saw a safety car there on lap 12 with George Russell basically coming off the corner and tagging his right rear tire and just took his tire down. I think he had to replace his wing and stuff at this point. And then the best part of the race, after the safety car comes out, Norris ends up slowing down a little bit, trying to get the field behind it bunched up, and then the good old FIA taking a note right out of Big Daddy NASCAR's playbook here, gives him one of these unsportsmanlike behavior penalties, a 5-second time penalty to be added to the end of his race. Oh man, what are your thoughts? This is just hysterical.
Well, I mean, that's the FIA, man. I mean, I just, I think Big Daddy NASCAR actually learned a little bit from the FIA, to be honest with you. Truthfully.
I think the best part of the whole race, was when the commentator or the reporter or whatever from the pit road or whatever kept going on the broadcast. He's like complaining about it. This is ridiculous. he's the most liked guy in the paddock. He doesn't make anybody mad, and they're giving him this type of penalty, and I'm just like, this guy's just losing his mind. It was just super entertaining.
Yeah. It went to show that. One good thing though is that it went to show that they're not playing favorites.
Yeah, that's true.
Norris is probably the most popular driver in F1. If you take out the Chase Elliott / Lewis Hamilton fans there,
and Haley Deegan,
yeah,
he's like top 5, one of the most popular drivers in the world for sure.
Yeah, for sure. I agree.
Yeah, so at this point he was kind of pushing real hard in the race, and then we saw Russell finally retire there, lap 55. I think he was running like 8th or 9th at the time. He was behind that DRS train behind Albon back in like 7th through 11th, and he just ended up having to retire the car, unfortunately. And then we saw Verstappen obviously won the race. I mean, his 41st career win. I think it said it tied him with Ayrton Senna on career Formula One wins with 41. That's a huge moment. I mean, Ayrton Senna is a freaking legend in his own right.
Yeah.
I mean, one of the greatest drivers of all time, in my opinion, personal opinion. And for him to tie him, that just adds a stock to Verstappen. Verstappen, same as Palou. He's just unstoppable right now. Even when I think he even made a mistake one lap, and he like almost got into the wall, and he just goes over the radio and starts laughing hysterically. This is fun. I'm just like, you're going this fast, like this big of a lead, and you almost threw it away with like 3 to go and hit the wall, and you're over on the radios laughing. That's how in tune he is to win this world championship. That's how dominant he is. It's just nothing's that big of a deal to him. He just goes out and does it. That's just that's the side of a true great driver right there. And then we also saw Alonso hang on to P2 there, and Hamilton get P3 with Mercedes. So basically the same podium, the best 3 drivers probably or I guess the 3. I don't know. It's tough to say. I would say probably the best 3 drivers currently in the paddock, getting top 3, the ones that you would expect at least, the world champions of the F1 series. And then we saw Perez kind of do one of those desperate. He was too far behind the Ferraris to pass them, but far enough ahead of 7th place Albon to get past, so they brought him in for softs, was on the last lap to get the fast lap of the race, so gain him an extra point, just a pity point really. I mean, he's losing so many at this point to Verstappen. So is there anything else you want to add to the Formula 1 race, or is this just kosher as normal?
Yeah, just one thing though. A report came out that Alonso was managing a ECU issue for the first 40 laps of the race. So that's why we saw him in 3rd place. He was just trying to manage it. And then after the 40th lap or so or whatever, they were managing for nothing, apparently, or something like that. Whatever words they put it into. So then they let Alonso loose, and that's when he, moved up and secured that P2.
Yeah, he did a great job, especially at the end too. They were playing like you mentioned, the ECU. That's a great point. And then also the whole fuel saving. I don't know what he was doing fuel saving for. It didn't really make a lot of sense to me, but they executed it perfectly and got pretty much where they've been all year on the podium. I mean, that's where he is. That's where that team is right now. And then also, I just want to shout out Alex Albon. Like I mentioned, P7. I mean, this is something that Williams desperately needed. I mean, Logan Sargent is just nowhere to be found on a weekly basis in the Formula 1 series. Albon's at least he's got some pretty decent talent, but his performances have just not been there. We haven't seen Williams this even close to points this year, really, at all. And here they are getting a P7. I mean, yeah, they did kind of have to use the DRS train and kind of like back everybody up in the corners and had a huge line behind him, but at the end of the day, the result's all that matters. Doesn't matter how you get there. You just got to get there. So great job by him. So that summarizes the races that happened this weekend. Super exciting stuff there. I think the best race of the weekend was definitely that IndyCar race. Just the adversity for that race was just insane. So we'll go through the points for IndyCar and Formula 1. First, we'll do the Formula 1 points. We have Verstappen as your points leader at 195 points. You have Perez in second. He's 69 back now, so just losing more ground. And then you see Alonso there in third. He is currently 78 points back. For the constructors, we got Red Bull.
Catching Perez, though.
Yeah, exactly. That's one thing to note. Exactly. He is catching Perez. I said this, I think, a couple weeks ago on the podcast. I was like, if Alonso just keeps putting these performances together in the way that Perez is tracking, I mean, it could be potential that Alonso can get up into second place in the battle here. So that's good to notice. And then also, Red Bull is just killing them in the constructors. Obviously, they've won every race so far this season, whether it was Perez or Verstappen. So they're at 321. 154 points back is Mercedes in second, and then 167 points back is Aston Martin in third. So this battle for the second place in the constructors is just getting intense. And this weekend with George Russell's DNF and Stroll actually I think he did get a point there at the end with the Norris penalty. So this actually helped them out a ton. Actually, I think he got 2 points there at the end. He did actually get 2 points there at the end. So that was pretty crazy. So that they not only did Alonso beat Hamilton there in the race and get more points, but also Stroll got points when Russell didn't. So that gained them 5 points on Mercedes here to get back into this mix. So it's heating up there for the constructors for sure. And then also the IndyCar points, Palou, like I mentioned, just absolutely doing what Verstappen's doing in the Formula 1 ranks. He's just dominating. He's 324 points. He's 74 points ahead of second place Marcus Ericsson. and 81 points ahead of your 8,500 champion of Joseph Newgarden, who's in third. So we'll just have to keep tabs on that. I mean, it's really kind of just a battle for second in points in both these series right now. Unless somebody could just heat up here in the second half of these seasons, it's looking over for the championship here.
Pretty much.
And with that being said, that summarizes the weekend for the races that happened this weekend. We're going to go into the previews of the races this weekend. This weekend, we're going to see all 3 NASCAR series, minus ARCA, I guess. We got the Trucks Xfinity Cup in Nashville at the 1.5 or I guess it's 1.3 miles track there in Nashville, outside of Nashville, kind of a flat intermediate. And then we have IMSA, and which is the WeatherTech Challenge Series, as well as the Pilot Challenge Series there at the Watkins Glen, 6 hours at the Glen, actually. So super excited there. Notable entries of the Truck Series this weekend. Tony Breidinger making another start in the Truck Series in the number 1 Tricon truck, as well as Jack Wood in the number 51 KBM truck. So 2 ARCA guys moving up to the trucks to run this weekend. Pretty exciting there. Xfinity, we got Ty Dillon driving the number 4 for JD Motorsports. No expectations there. AJ Allmendinger in the number 10 Colleague All-Star car. That's pretty exciting. I wouldn't expect him to run in the All-Star car on an oval, but I mean, it's AJ Allmendinger. He can basically do what he wants. He's like the grandfather of Colleague Racing. He kind of pretty much built it to what it is now, so he can pretty much do whatever he wants. And then Ty Gibbs is going to be in the number 19 for JGR. Zane Smith is actually going to be making an Xfinity start in the RS or the Ryan Sieg Racing car in the number 28 that Almirola actually won at Sonoma in. So that's a big moment there for Zane Smith.
I forgot, and it's not related to this weekend. I really feel like, though, that it could be brought up here. But did you see that Justin Marks is going to be in the 10 car for Colleague?
No way.
For the Chicago race?
I did not see that. I did not see that at all.
I completely forgot about it. Yeah, I forgot.
I'm sure you sent it to me, but I did not even really look at it. It's been a long week. I haven't really had a lot of time.
Yeah, if I didn't say it right now, I was going to completely forget. So that's why I said it right now. But yeah, Justin Marks, the owner of Trackhouse, he's going to be racing in the 10 car for Chicago.
Sweet. Yeah, and that's coming up here in 2 more weekends. That's the first weekend of July, so that's coming up soon. And there's a lot to talk about with that Chicago Street Course. There's a lot of big names running in these different races, so we'll talk about that more when we get there, which should be pretty fun. And then also Carson Hocevar in the Xfinity Series in the number 77 Spire car. We saw what he has done in his select few starts that he's had there. Just an absolute dominant or great driver. And great performances.
Yeah. And his cup start at Worldwide.
Yeah, I mean, I'm on the Carson Hocevar bandwagon right now. Honestly, I'm riding it because I mean, when I judge drivers, I judge drivers on what I see on the track. For one, number 2, I judge them on their stats, and then number 3, I judge them on their performance, just in general through like a certain amount of races. You know, like you don't want to put a bunch of stock into someone over one race. You don't want to put a bunch of stock into someone over. You want to put it into multiple races. And what he's been able to do recently in the Truck Series, having great runs. Xfinity, every time he jumps in one of those, he's doing good. And then that one Cup start, I mean, the result wasn't there. But, I mean, if you just watch that performance that he had in that car during that race, you just knew he had it. He had the talent. So that's kind of where I'm going at there. So, yeah, exactly. Good point to bring up with the Hocevar. And then also in the Cup Series, you got Brennan Poole in the Rick Ware car, and then you got Bilicki in the Live Fast car. Just thought I'd mention those because those are kind of the revolving doors of the Cup Series right now. And then in the IMSA, the 6 hours of the Glen, we got 9 GTP cars. We got 9 LMP2s, 10 LMP3s, 9 GTD Pros, and 20 GTD cars. I think that's, 57? Is my math is right? 10, 10, 10, 10, 20.
57.
Yeah, 60 minus 3, 7. 57. So 57 entries for the 6 hours of the Glen. That's like, only a few short of what they had at Le Mans? That's pretty crazy. Yeah. Especially for an American series like this. So that's pretty crazy.
And at Watkins Glen.
Yeah, Watkins Glen especially. Yeah. Pretty wild. All right, so now we got the notable entries. We know what races are happening this weekend. Let's talk about our favorite dark horses, what to expect this weekend. Truck Series at Nashville, the Rackley Roofing 200 on Friday. favorite for this race for me is I am taking Grant Enfinger. This man is on an absolute roll right now. Doesn't look like he's slowing down anytime soon. And I look at Nashville to be a type of track that someone that's got great car control, someone that really understands how to finish a race, how to strategize and to change their driving style throughout the length of the race. I just look at Nashville being one of those type of tracks, and Grant Enfinger fits that mold completely. And for my dark horse, I am taking Dean Thompson in the number 5 Tricon car or truck, and I'm taking him purely because I've been super impressed with what he's been doing lately, and I feel like one of these nights, out of nowhere, I'm just taking a whim. It's going to be this weekend. Maybe he can end up stealing the show and taking the win. Who do you got, Tom?
Well, I've been choosing Enfinger pretty much all season long. I'm going to choose him again. Enfinger just has that golden horseshoe right now, whether he's backing into the win or that he is just obviously the fastest truck deserving. So, yeah. I mean, he's on such a momentum train right now. It's kind of hard to deny anything from that guy. And then for my dark horse, I'm going to go with Friesen. We saw so much success out of Friesen a couple years ago, and it's just kind of gone. I don't know what happened there, but I think that a short track like this is going to fit Friesen's profile for, his driving series, or his driving style, excuse me. And I think that he's going to get a great finish here this weekend.
Yeah, and with that point on Friesen, I think it's all the crew chief changes they've been doing. I think it's on like his 4th one this year. It's pretty crazy. So yeah, that's a great dark horse pick. Actually, I didn't even really put that one in my thought or my repertoire. Also, like I mentioned, it's the Michelin Pilot Series, the Watkins Glen 120. It's just a 2-hour race for the TCRs there at the Pilot Series. Next year, actually, the LMP3s are going to be in the Pilot Series. Learned that just a little bit ago, or maybe a couple weekends ago, with the whole LMP3 going to the Pilot Challenge Series. We're not going to make picks on this because, I mean, it's the Pilot Series. Anybody can win. It's kind of like the NXT or an F2. You don't really pick a winner. You kind of just let it happen and enjoy it. It's pretty fun to watch. All right, when it comes to the Xfinity Series here, we've got the Tennessee Lottery 200, favorite dark horses, and what to expect. I believe it's going to be a very good race, as always in the Xfinity Series, right? We mentioned it time and time and time again. The Xfinity Series is just one of the best series in all of auto racing out there right now. It's definitely top 3, without a doubt. They always put on a good show. This weekend, though, I am taking John Hunter Nemechek to win this race. He's been on such a momentum high. I think he's going to put all of those road course hustles behind him with the drama it's at Portland, the drama at Sonoma. I think he'll put it all back behind him. He's going to be in a more comfortable situation here, and I believe John Hunter Nemechek will get the win. And my dark horse here, I'm going with Brett Moffitt. Every time I watch an Xfinity race, I mean, I watch all of them, but every time I'm watching, I always seem to see Brett Moffitt kind of like find his way up into the top 8, top 10, sometimes right up on the edge of the top 5. And I mean, you can't do that consistently and not find a day that you're going to end up in victory lane. It's going to happen eventually. You just don't know when it's going to happen. So I'm taking Brett Moffitt as my dark horse. I feel like this is a track that could fit his driving style. He's a really patient driver, really great car control, and knows how to manage his stuff. So Brett Moffitt.
All right, I'm going to go with Parker Kligerman for my favorite. I mean, that dude's always up front, too. It doesn't matter. And he's with, terrible equipment, comparative. I mean, he's just a great overall driver. I mean, he could put the car anywhere. He can get good finishes out of a crap car, and nobody bats an eye. So he's kind of a huge underdog, probably the leader of the underdogs at the moment, I feel like. But yeah, I'm going to go with Parker. And then for a dark horse, I'm going to go with Jeb Burton. And I just think overall, the Jordan Anderson racing team is being kind of slept on at the moment. Parker Ratzlaff does a great job too. Jeb Burton's got a win this year at Talladega. Talladega? Yeah, it's Talladega.
Yeah, Talladega.
So I think that it wouldn't be surprising if we saw a Jordan Anderson racing car up front, maybe with some late race shenanigans. I think it's entirely possible.
Yeah, that's a great pick. I like the PK pick. I wanted to pick him too, but I'm not picking him or Creed for the rest of the year because every time I seem to put him on either my favorite or dark horse list, it ends up being a bad weekend for either of them or both of them. So, I went with different picks this week for sure. All right, Sunday we have the Salen's 6 Hours of the Glen, obviously at Watkins Glen. We have we're gonna pick the GTP winners. I believe that the number 10 Wayne Taylor Acura of Taylor, Albuquerque, and Delatraz are going to win this race. They have been on the cusp of winning one of these races. They dang near had it there at Sebring until that late collision that they had there with the Porsches. Then they nearly won at Long Beach until Ricky Taylor lost talent there going into turn 1 with 2 to go and drove into the wall. And then they just had a poor strategy at Laguna Seca. That's where I was going with that. So I believe that they're going to turn it around this weekend, and they are going to get the dub. And I just love their driver lineup. I am a huge fan of Philippe Albuquerque. I think he's just fun to watch. That dude does some crazy stuff behind the wheel. He's like he's like if you watch our NSR leagues, he's kind of like Rob Collier. He just does. He's Showtime, man.
It's Collier.
Exactly. Rob Collier does some crazy stuff. I mean, exactly. He's like, he's just Mr. Excitement, man. He's just fun to watch. And then for my dark horse, I am going to take BMW, the number 24 BMW with Farfus and Ang. BMW is the only manufacturer that hasn't won a race yet this season in GTP. And so that's why I took him as my dark horse. And plus, I would love to see all 4 manufacturers in IMSO get a dub this year. And I think that maybe they could do it. I mean, who knows? It's 6 hours at the Glen. Anything can happen. Who knows?
Yeah.
Who do you got?
I got the same. Number 10, Wayne Taint. Golly, dude. WTR Acura. For all the same reasons you just came up with. Yeah. I same exact thing. But for my dark horse, I'm going to choose the 01 Chip Ganassi Racing Cadillac with Van der Zand and Magnussen, because Kevin Magnussen, man. That's why.
Heck yeah. I love it. That's a great pick. I just want to say before we go on to the Cup race, you guys need to tune in at least for maybe even an hour. If you don't watch IMSA racing, or you maybe just watch the 24-hour Le Mans because you've been on our channel and you've got interested in watching that, or because of the NASCAR project, whatever, you need to tune in and watch at least a little bit of this race. If you do not watch this GTP racing in America right now, it's one of the premier, like I mentioned, it's the NASCAR Xfinity Series, and then it's the GTP class in IMSA. The best 2 racing series on the planet right now. They are so entertaining, and just any of these cars could win on any given race. The competition is so tight, probably tighter than even the Xfinity Series, with the adversity of who can win these races, and just the sound of these cars, the look of these cars. I mean, it's true race car. It's awesome, and these teams just invest a lot into it. And IMSA's doing a lot of good stuff right now, and just even if it's for 10 minutes, just check it out. You have to. You're missing out if you're not.
Yeah, and the coolest part is that the manufacturer has a hand in building these cars. So not all of these cars are the same. I mean, they have different design philosophies, different downforce philosophies. I mean, for the 24 hours of Le Mans, we saw Peugeot not even have a rear wing. They had a ground effect concept going on with that car. I mean, everybody else is running a rear wing except for this crazy French team thinking that they don't need a rear wing. I mean, it's just cool though, because there's not a lot of series like this anymore, right? It's Formula racing in North America, they're all standardized. They're all the same car, just different engines. Stock car racing, all the same car, just different motors. And then you go over to Europe, you've got Formula 1. Yeah, you get little differences here and there on the wings and floors and whatever. But it's not, this is like a full-bodied car that is helped been developed by the manufacturer, which is you just don't get it anywhere else.
I love that you bring that up.
It's cool.
I love that you bring that up, that they're all different, because I was going to mention this at the end of the podcast, but since you mention it now, that all these GTP cars are different, and the hypercars, LMDH, LMDs, or LMHs, they're all different. I also made a video on the channel. I don't know if you guys have seen it yet. I went to Meridian Speedway, local short track feature here, and I went and showcased the super modifieds there, and kind of the same thing. These are just check out the video. It's really great. Basically, to summarize it, these cars are manufactured and built by certain chassis builders. They do their own engine packages. There's really no rules to these cars. They're not like confined to a rule book. And you won't find one that's the same as another. And there's not very many of them left in the United States. It's kind of a dying breed of racing because everybody, like you mentioned, goes to these kit cars. Everything's the same anymore. And everybody wants to compete in the same rule books and the same restrictions. So if you check that video out, it's really awesome. The sounds of them. If you guys ever get a chance to see any of these type of cars race in person, go and watch them. Go look at them. Do whatever you can to be around them, because these are the last true engineering and marvel of short track racing in the United States. So check that video out. You guys will love it. Next, we'll talk about the Ally 400 Sprint Cup race there at Nashville on Sunday. The Ally 400. Favorite star course of what to expect. I expect to, same as it's been all year, pretty lackluster first two stages. And then at the end, probably a little bit of chaos, green light checker finish. It seems to be the trend here in NASCAR and their cautions late. I have a feeling that it's the Ally 400. Who drives the Ally car? Alex Bowman drives the Ally car. Who's the guy that wins every year that hasn't won yet? Alex Bowman. Who's a guy on my fantasy I haven't taken a whole lot this year? Alex Bowman. Who's in a Hendrick car that hasn't won yet this year that doesn't have a ridiculous fan base? Alex Bowman. So for some reason, part of me is thinking this is the weekend that Alex Bowman wins. He takes the Ally car to victory in the Ally 400. What a storyline that'd be. And I believe that Hendrick is going to dominate this race anyway. And so I don't want to go with the Larson Byron prediction. I'm going with Alex Bowman. Alex Bowman wins the race. For my dark horse, I'm going with Chris Buescher. I believe Chris Buescher is going to surprise a lot of people. His speed's been there the last few weeks. I believe that he is going to get a great finish and follow up that Sonoma finish. Who do you got, Tom?
I've got Larson for obvious reasons. I've been having some really bad picks here in the Cup Series. I feel like Larson's a pretty safe one at the moment. So that's my favorite. My dark horse, I'm going with Stenhouse, man. He's been doing such a phenomenal job to keep that 47 car in the top 10. We saw some, bad luck with him in previous races, but I mean, anything can happen. I think that 47 car, or I'm sorry, that 47 team, they're onto something.
That's a great pick. And I think me and you were kind of thinking on the same lines there with Buescher and Stenhouse, because they both have kind of had the same kind of storyline this season, really.
Yeah.
Non-existent to start, and then they've just kind of turned it up. I mean, if you take Ricky Stenhouse Jr.'s Daytona 500 win away, he'd still be in the playoffs. That's how good of a year he's having. It's pretty underrated.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, for sure.
Great picks there. Now, off to fantasy. I picked, for my 5-driver lineup, I picked Buescher, Stenhouse, so me and you both are dark horses. I picked Bowman, who was my favorite. I picked Larson, who was Tom's pick. So that's my lineup. And then I also threw in Kevin Harvick because I had a couple extra uses I want to use on him, and I believe maybe this weekend's the weekend. So who do you got, Tom?
So this weekend I'm having to elect to use some drivers that I don't have a lot of uses on. So I've also got the 17 and the 47. Because again, they've been slept on, and admittedly so, I've slept on them too. I've got the 54 car, Ty Gibbs. I got the 41, Ryan Preece, and then I've got the 9 car of Chase Elliott there. Because actually, I've got 6 uses left on him. I just don't think he's gonna do anything at all. Not even a little bit.
Yeah, me neither.
I might as well get him off my roster while I can.
Heck yeah, dude, that's a good strategy. Taking old William Clyde Elliott Jr.
Yeah.
Next is the Denny Hamlin and the William Clyde Elliott Jr. matchup here. I'm taking the 11 over the 9, and it's for all the same reasons. He's just doesn't have the speed, and plus Hamlin's kind of been on a tear recently. Besides trying to be Casper and drive through a wall, he's been doing all right.
I got the 11 over the 9 too. Pretty much for all the same reasons. The 9 is in such a slump right now. It's just he's got to do something spectacular to get himself out of that hole. And the 11 is on a tear right now, so it's a no-brainer to go with the 11.
Yeah, that just made me think of it too, like how he's on such a bad downslope right now. Elliot is like,
Yeah,
weren't they just
really
a few months ago when they had Barry in the car? Weren't they like competing for wins? I mean, what happened?
They really were.
It's just
driver
weird. Yeah, it's driver and mindset. Honestly, I mean, if you're gonna throw a temper, well, we've already talked about that, but it's same difference. All right, we'll talk about the next matchup. We got Christopher Bell and Joey Logano. I'm taking Bell over Logano. I just think Logano is just. I think he's kind of in the situation that Blaney was in at the earlier part of the year, right? We saw Logano real good and fast and up front, and then we saw Blaney in the back. And now the last few weeks, we've seen the reverse roles. We've seen Blaney running up front. We see Logano driving the dump truck. So I think that maybe their experimental stuff's getting flopped around here between these two guys. And I think that Logano's still in the dump truck phase, and I think Bell's going to outperform him this weekend. Who do you got?
Same thing. 20 over the 22. The 22's in a slump. The 20, I mean, he's not as turned up as he was at the beginning of the season, but I still think the 20 car is probably a leap and a bound over the 22 in terms of performance at the moment.
Yeah, that's a good point. All right, now we got the 24 and the 12. I went back and forth on this one. This was a tough one, man. This is a very tough one, especially really considering how both of them, like Byron started off the season so dominant, and he's kind of like comparing himself to himself, like he's kind of fallen down off that pedestal just a touch. And then Blaney comparing himself to himself. I mean, he went from driving the UPS truck about 4 weeks ago, and now he's winning the Coke 600, nearly going back to back, running up front everywhere he goes. I mean, minus the couple spins he had there late at Sonoma, he was on pace for another good top 5 finish. So I'm going to go with Byron just because this is Hendrick's playhouse. I mean, the last couple years. And I believe that the Hendrick guys will be up front pretty much all day. And I think that at the end of the day, Byron's just going to be ahead of Blaney here. Who do you got?
I went back and forth on this one a lot too. And I really don't know who to choose. I really don't. But I chose the 12 over the 24 just to be different than you. And that's it. Honestly. I mean, this is the best matchup we've seen. This is definitely a top 3 matchup we've seen all year long.
Oh,
I mean,
100%.
This is a really hard matchup to choose.
Yeah, it's right up there with
I don't know.
Yeah, it's right up there with that Truex Hamlin matchup we had a few weeks ago. That was a good one. Yeah. And then the final one here, we have Chastain and Bubba Wallace. I'm just taking Chastain. I know he's had his woes in the past few weeks, but I think that's just the growing pains of coming into the summer months. I think the off weekend, good chance to reset his head. I think Chastain's going to be right back up to leading all these races and taking people and himself out at the end for wins, but I still think he's going to end up beating Bubba in this race. Who do you got?
Yeah, I chose the one over the 23. Now, the 23 is having a really good run right now. Let's not deny that fact. But I also think with the one car that Justin Marks is kind of pulling the reins on him, telling him he needs to chill out a little bit. But we're getting close, man. If I was in that one camp there, I would be really pushing to just... Well, I don't know, man. Just kind of lock yourself in, but I guess if he was going on his don't give a crap tour, at the beginning of the year and couldn't get it done, then they're just going to point race their way in. I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, it's an interesting story there, Chastain. I like that input.
But yeah, 21 or the one car. Sorry.
Alrighty. Well, that does our fantasy. That does our recap of all the races this weekend. And we have no radioactive of the week because there was no cup race last weekend. This is the return. Actually, I think this is the last off weekend they have for the rest of the season, honestly, in the Cup Series. I think they're straight through for the rest of the year now. So, yeah, buckle in as we're getting down towards the end. I think this is race 17. So, what's that, 9 more races till the playoffs? So, you're going to see a lot more playoff grids and everything coming out here with the Cup Series. We keep tabs on the cutoff line, keep tabs on the regular season champion. And then also when the playoffs come around, we're gonna fill out our own brackets right here on the podcast, or at least show you guys our brackets and maybe give some better in-depth predictions for the championships there. So stay tuned for the NASCAR stuff. It's heating up. It's getting exciting. Nashville this weekend. And NBC. No more Fox. So hopefully NBC has learned their lesson and they can figure out how to do side-by-side commercials more often than not. Alrighty. Yeah. Well, this is... Well, that pretty much summarizes the Full Send Half Mast Podcast episode 21. This will be back again like clockwork next Tuesday for episode 22. Make sure to stay tuned to the channel for a video coming out every single day, daily uploads. We'll get more clips of the podcast. We'll maybe throw in some more different things. There's a lot of stuff in the works between me and Tom. We've been bouncing ideas off each other. I've got a lot of big hopes and dreams and ideas for this channel. And then, like I mentioned, go watch the short track feature at Meridian Speedway. I would like to do this more often. I would like to go to more short tracks across the country and showcase different cars, different drivers, different series, different just tracks, what they do to put on a show every weekend for people that are cutting their teeth on these grassroots and all the local fans that go to these tracks. I mean, those are the unsung heroes, right? There's people that go to these tracks every single weekend and support their home track, buy the concessions, buy the tickets, come out and just support the drivers and then the local sponsors that come along with that because they have the eyeballs on the car, so it allows these drivers to actually race. It's just a whole community thing. It all intertwines, and it's just super cool to see. So stay tuned. Maybe I'll hit the road and go find another short track to go visit here soon.
Yeah, coming to a short track near you.
Heck yeah, maybe you'll see me. Maybe even if you're watching the channel. If you see that video, comment. Maybe point out a track I should go visit, and maybe I can make that happen. Maybe me and Tom can make that happen. Maybe Tom can make that happen. Maybe I can make that happen. We'll see what we can do. It's something we'd definitely like to do. And then that leads me to my next point. We really appreciate everybody that subbed in the last month here. Like, actually, everybody that subbed on the channel in general. Everybody that's watching our content. Your subscriptions go a long way, helping us be able to do this stuff, allowing us to do this stuff. It's just our channel's growing in such a fast rate. It's like almost making my head spin. We've only been doing this for, almost 4 months. We're through 3.5 months now. We started in early March, and it's just been growing and growing and growing. Every time I look, we just got more and more subs, and we really just appreciate everything. All the comments, we get so much interaction on our videos, and lots of views, and the subs are just building and building. We just need appreciate all the subs that we get. The more subs we get, the more we can do, the more content we can make, and the more awesome, great ideas that we can do. We've got so many things that we want to do, and it's just the restrictions with time and this and that, and just trying to work out logistics. It's we're doing what we love. Really, we're just doing what we love. We love racing, and we love the racing community. We want to share that with the world. Maybe build lifelong racing fans, and come out here every Tuesday and kind of give you our summary of all the races that happen. Whether you agree, disagree, love it, hate it, we welcome it all, because that's what makes it great. That's what makes racing awesome. Everybody's got an opinion. It's all valid, and that's what we appreciate. So thank you guys so much. Tom, do you have anything to mention about the broadcast? Anything like that for upcoming here?
Yeah. Saturday, it's the 499, baby. It's here. It's going to start. We've got it's close to 35 entrants or something. I could look real quick. Yeah, it's somewhere around there. Well, I can't count that fast, but I got that Chase Elliott fan brain going on right now. So, besides the facts, come on out, come hang out with us. We're gonna have some great pre-race shows coming to you guys. Jay just showed the trophy at the beginning of this podcast. I mean, look at that thing, man. And you know what? It's not made out of that. It's not made out of that plastic China metal. That is pure titanium right there, baby.
Hell yeah.
That's what I'm talking about. So we're gonna be giving that trophy out that night to the winner of the driver. We've got some great prizes going on. Make sure you guys show up. Make sure you guys interact with us in the channel. It's gonna be a fantastic time. I'm so excited for this. I mean, it's just gonna be. I'm getting like ready to go right now, man. I still got like 5 days.
No, we were actually under 100 hours, man. It's like what, 3.5 days, really? I mean, dang, dude, it's closing in fast.
Yeah. So, and you know, we've got a great content coming to your guys' way. We got a great race coming to your guys' way. Lots of drivers entered into this field. That trophy will be handed out that night. We've got poll awards. We've got random draw. We got winner prizes. I mean, it's just gonna be a whole thing. It's gonna be awesome. So make sure you guys come out for that and interact with us. I mean, every broadcast we do, we have people in our chat. We talk with you guys. It is probably, in my opinion, it is my favorite part of the broadcast is talking to you guys. So even if it's something like, you know, hey, Jay, your hair looks funny, or, you know, Tom, why do you squint all the time? It's because I can't see worth a crap. I mean, whatever it may be, just come on out and talk to us, man. Like we love it. We love it. So, but not only that, you guys, we're broadcasting all the time. We're gonna start doing some other special events too, and you know, make sure you guys stick to the channel for that. We got lots of cool stuff coming up, but yesterday we had a broadcast with the Nexus Sim Racing League. They had some Gen 6 racing over there at New Hampshire. Crazy race, great race. Rob Collier coming out on top, winning that race, so big congratulations to him. But make sure you guys come on out. We got very personable drivers. We bring them up in the booth. We interview them. I mean, if you guys want us to interview a driver, put it in the chat. We will interview that driver. But yeah, you know, just I'm really excited about this. You know, we're both really excited about this. It's a great event. So make sure you guys find your way to the Dega Boys channel for this weekend on Saturday, catching all the action for the Nexus 499.
Heck yeah. The best iRacers in the business, baby.
That's
87's in Talladega.
Right.
You don't get better than that. This is going to be great. Super excited about that. All right. Well, I mean, that summarizes everything. I mean, stay tuned to the channel. I believe we have a race on Thursday, right? With the National Tour short tracks. And then I believe also on Friday with the Rewind series, as usual, like clockwork. Come enjoy those as well.
We got a restructuring with the Rewind series going on right now. But do not fret. There will be something else coming out that is going to be a lot of fun as well.
All right. I won't spoil anything. I didn't say it. All right. So stay tuned. Stay tuned to the channel. Subscribe. More content coming. This sounds great. Tom's hitting us with a little bit of teasers here. I love it. All righty. Yeah. Well, that is going to summarize the Full Send Half Mast Podcast episode 21, man. This has been fun. I appreciate you coming on. This is a great time. I always love talking racing with you, man. It's fun.
Heck yeah.
Heck yeah. All right, guys. You guys have a good night. Make sure to stay tuned to the channel, and we'll catch you guys next week on the Full Send Half Mast Podcast. We'll be here. Hopefully your driver's not on the chopping block. Take it easy.
not sad again, are you, Splash Gang?